The wind howled through the fractured ridges of the canyon, whipping icy sand across the abandoned ruins of a forgotten outpost. Beneath a collapsed antenna array, wrapped in scavenged thermal foil, a lone alien woman clutched her knees to her chest. Her skin, once a rich violet hue, was dulled by exhaustion and hunger. Her eyes, large and faintly luminescent, blinked against the wind as her daughter whimpered in her arms. "Kira," the child murmured, barely audible over the storm. "I'm cold." "I know, baby," the woman whispered, brushing her fingers across the girl's cheeks. "I know." Kira had nothing left. No food, no fuel, no warmth except her own fading body heat. Once a respected technician on the Aurelian fleet, she'd fled when her transport was sabotaged by mercenaries, losing everything but her child. Now, hunted and alone on a desolate fringe world, she'd run out of options. But then, lights appeared in the distance. At first, she thought it a hallucination, a cruel mirage conjured by her starving mind. But the lights were real, approaching slowly, cautiously. A sandcrawler, a human-made one. Panic gripped her heart. She'd heard stories of what humans did to alien strays. Some traded them. Some sold them. Some took other things. But her daughter needed warmth. She needed shelter. Kira stood, shielding her child with trembling arms, and waved frantically at the vehicle. It stopped. The ramp hissed open, revealing a tall figure silhouetted by golden light. A human male, face wrapped in a scarf, eyes narrowed. He stepped down into the storm. "You look half dead," he said, his voice muffled but firm. "Come on, get inside." Kira hesitated. She shifted her child in her arms. "Please, my daughter. She's—" "I see her," he interrupted, already moving toward them. "Let's get her warm first. Then we'll talk." He helped them both inside without another word. The warmth of the crawler hit her like a wall. It wasn't fancy, just metal walls, old wiring, and worn cushions, but to Kira, it felt like a palace. The man guided them into a small sitting area, handed her a thermal blanket, then knelt before the child and gently took her icy hands. "I'm Mason," he said softly. "You?" "Kira," she answered warily. "My daughter is Ailey." Mason nodded. "She's burning up. She's dehydrated and probably hasn't eaten in days." "We haven't," Kira admitted. He disappeared into the back and returned moments later with a heat pack, a steaming mug of broth, and a few protein bars. "Start slow," he warned. "Let her stomach adjust." Kira fed Ailey with trembling fingers, her eyes locked on the stranger. She was ready if he asked for payment for her, for anything, she was ready to give it. But Mason only sat back and watched in silence, as if waiting to make sure the girl kept it down. Then he spoke again. "You're not safe out here. What happened?" Kira hesitated, then told him everything. How her ship had been hijacked, how she fled, how she'd been hiding in the ruins since. He didn't interrupt. When she was done, she waited, braced. "I can take you somewhere safe," Mason finally said. "There's a small settlement about 2 days north. Good people. They won't hurt you." She swallowed. "I don't have anything to pay with." He frowned. "I didn't ask for anything." Her gaze dropped to the floor. "Then take me. Use me. Just keep Ailey alive." There was silence. Then Mason stood. He crossed the small space between them, leaned down, and gently lifted her chin until their eyes met. "You don't ever have to offer yourself to be treated like a person," he said. "You're safe here. Both of you." Kira's throat clenched. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. He didn't wait for an answer. "Get some sleep. I'll keep driving." The next day passed in blur of movement and warmth. Mason drove while Ailey slept nestled between blankets. Kira watched him from the passenger seat, unsure how to categorize this human. He didn't speak much, but he checked on Ailey every hour. He shared his food. He didn't stare at Kira's alien features with disgust or desire, only with the quiet, steady attention of someone who gave a damn. That night, they stopped near a geothermal vent. The heat from the rocks helped fight off the cold, and Mason cooked something that smelled like stew. Kira sat beside him under the open night sky. "You're different," she said finally. Mason sipped from his tin cup. "So are you. I thought humans hated off-worlders. Some do. Most are just scared. Some are worse. Which are you?" He looked at her then. "I'm someone who believes no one should freeze to death in a storm, especially not a mother and child." Silence fell between them again, but it wasn't awkward. It was warm, safe. For the first time in months, Kira slept through the night. By the time they reached the settlement, Ailey was laughing again. Her color had returned. She clung to Mason like a second father, and he carried her with an ease that made something ache in Kira's chest. The town was modest but alive. Humans, a few off-worlders, solar panels and greenhouses, kids playing in the sand. No one stared. No one whispered. And when Mason introduced her, they welcomed her. "I'm going to head back out," Mason said after getting them set up in a small room at the inn. "Got supplies to run." Kira caught his hand. "You could stay," she whispered. He looked down at her. "You don't have to repay me, Kira. This wasn't a bargain." "I know," she said softly. "But I want you to." He didn't speak, just stared at her like he wasn't sure if she meant it. But he didn't pull away either. Ailey ran up, hugging his leg. "Stay." Mason crouched to lift the girl into his arms, holding her close. "Maybe I will." Weeks passed. Kira found work in the hydroponics bay. Ailey enrolled in the local school. Mason built a small extension onto the side of his sandcrawler, just big enough for 2 more bunks. The town saw them often, Kira on Mason's arm, or Mason helping Ailey build solar kites. They weren't flashy. They didn't make grand announcements. But the change was unmistakable. Kira no longer flinched at kindness. Ailey no longer woke crying in the night, and Mason smiled more. One night, as the desert winds howled outside their new shared home, Kira stood beside him in the tiny kitchen. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Do what?" "Take us in. Feed us. Save us." He looked at her, his eyes soft. "Because you needed someone. And I had space in my heart." Kira's voice broke. "I didn't think anyone would ever see me as more than a stray." Mason took her hand, pressed it to his chest. "I don't see a stray. I see a survivor. I see a mother. I see a woman who deserves more than what this galaxy gave her." Kira leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. "You gave us a home. You gave me a family," he whispered back. And then, under the stars, with her daughter asleep nearby and warmth in her soul for the first time in forever, Kira kissed him. They never spoke again of bargains or debts. They didn't need to, because in a frozen canyon, she had offered herself for shelter. But he had given her something far greater: warmth, love, and a home.